got hired as a person with strong project management background. And I came in and I was like, oh yeah, I know how to do marketing. It's an email campaign and it's a couple digital ads. And I had gotten brought on to manage a Father's Day campaign for this insurance company. And of course, it was a very reactive and non-proactive team, department, company. We started 6 weeks out in advance, which is not enough time to run an effective campaign, especially in direct to consumer. You need a long runway to produce assets and come up with creative, and to ideate, especially in insurance, to get things approved sometimes can be 2 to 3 weeks long. I brought all the department heads in, copywriting's here and creatives in, and they start throwing out all these things that I had never heard of, not just terminology, but aspects of the campaign I wasn't even ready for. The whole abandoned cart procedure and messaging and how that process goes. I was like, I don't know. And it was at that moment I had a true understanding and respect for marketing and what it takes to run a successful campaign. It's a lot. It's overwhelming. And to stay organized on time and not lose your creative edge and just push things over the line because they're due, it takes a really good team to do that. I did get through it. I lost the sense of being overwhelmed. We executed the campaign. It was not nearly as successful as we would have wanted, but we started a little late. That was the most memorable for me because once I got situated in it, I had fun. We came up with really fun creative and language and messaging for the campaign, and it all went out and we got some sales from it and it was good. But the fact I was able to get past that, realize I liked it, instead of saying maybe this isn't for me, was a big moment in my life and career too. Had things shifted on that specific campaign, it could have changed the trajectory of where I am today.
My experience at Pluralsight, it was a brand new team. We had never really charted public sector waters before. We started with the end in mind, just started with what do we want to accomplish? We had been given some pretty lofty goals from the outset. And just the first couple quarters, we were really missing our goals, and it was pretty deflating. This has worked before. Why isn't it working now? And thankfully, the boss that I had at the time was like, public sector just takes a long time. We need to trust in the process. And she gave me a lot of confidence in being able to continue moving forward with a plan. But it was really just a foundational marketing campaign, establishing ourselves as thought leaders in the industry. And so we really led with the same type of messaging all year long. We weren't switching from our product offers this and it offers this and it offers this. It was more focused on how can Pluralsight at the time help solve some of your larger public sector issues that you're dealing with your tech teams. We just anchored on that. We had used some third-party vendors to really help us build that storyline. So fast forward, we had missed our goals 5 quarters in a row. But then when we were looking back at how things have grown year over year, we realized by the end of that 5 quarters, we have grown 200% in this time period. And it was like, yeah, maybe we're missing our goals, but there is meaningful growth happening here. And then following that 5 quarters, they just started hitting number after number after number. And it was like, we've built so much to get to this point. And there's been a lot of negotiation that we've had to do with our executive team to help them understand, yes, we do still need to invest in this area. It's going to take longer than the other segments that we have targeted before. And I think just having the confidence of my leader gave me a lot of confidence to then speak with the executive team and say, don't sweat. This is everything that we're doing. We're going to nail it with this audience. We just need to give it time. And here are all of the contracts that we have at play right now, but it's just going to take some time for them to go through the red tape and get these contracts approved. So that for me was the most memorable because it was a very helpful lesson for me as a marketer that good things do take time. And you can't just snap your fingers and overnight have a ton of opportunities rolling in.
We had a brainstorm around what are we going to do to announce our status and a lot of these different G2 grids. So we had some different awards for G2 and we wanted to make a big splash around it. My boss at the time, our VP, Mark, he was talking about we really need G2 to work. And he was just announcing it. And I heard GQ at one point. And so I was like, GQ, like what are we talking about? What are we doing? Mark and I both were around at the same time. We're like, that's kind of funny though. Like, what if that is the G2 thing? I remember it was just one of those moments of like, haha, that's funny. But it's like, maybe that's just the idea. So what we did was just recreate the covers of some GQ magazines, but we made them G2 magazines and just photoshopped different members of our team in them with different blurbs. That was a lot of fun. It made for a fun campaign, but it was just like a mishearing that started it.
One of the most memorable ones was early in my content marketing career, and that was a job at StubHub doing content marketing there. I spent a whole summer there managing our Festival Pro campaign. So basically flying around the US and sometime in Europe, creating content, working with influencers, working with our events team. Pretty hard to top that when you're hanging out at these rock and roll music experiences and rubbing shoulders sometimes with musicians, and definitely living that rock and roll lifestyle for a few months. In terms of the experiences, it was actually a ton of work because we'd go to the event all day, and then it would usually be myself and an editor holed away in some hotel suite until the early morning hours pumping out content for the next day. So a ton of work, but it was really fun and invigorating to be on a deadline type experience like that and creating really good work too.
This past year, we pivoted the strategy of our annual customer conference. Our goals for attendance were significantly higher. So we've been running this event for our customers for 10 years, and it had always been called the Appfolio Customer Conference. We had a really large core group of loyal customers who looked forward to attending every year. They'd learn all about how they can get more out of the platform and the partnership with Appfolio. But last year, the strategy changed. We went a lot bigger than ever with our targets for attendance, and we renamed the event to Future Conference. And its primary purpose evolved a bit from being just a connection opportunity for our current customer base to becoming really a major event for the real estate management industry at large. And for the first time, a big portion of the speakers were from the real estate industry rather than only internal Appfolio speakers talking about our product. We had leaders from real estate industry groups like the National Apartment Association, the National Multifamily Housing Council, and a lot more. We also had some of our customers speak, which was great. A lot of them are leading in their fields. And then also our network of Appfolio Stack partners who provide integrations and consulting. We really got a lot of positive feedback. It was really just clear to everyone who was there, especially those who had been in the past, how much larger of a scale the event was. And also the networking, the connection opportunities for them were really remarkable. Looking at what made it a success, we had a couple different measurements. I think one of the most important was the new business units that we were able to close at the event, as well as opportunities for growth within our customer base, not just adopting features that they don't currently use, but looking at other kinds of services or plan upgrades that could be a good fit for their business. We had a whole expo hall, which was called Explore, where they could meet with our teams for screening, payments, also Stack partners. So it was just a great opportunity for them to learn about everything that was available to them.
A brand campaign that I worked on at a company called On Deck. The primary focus was to drive brand awareness of On Deck. The difference of this factor was instead of doing a very large, expensive national campaign, strategically, we chose one specific market. And we went through a whole process of figuring out which market that would be. We ended up choosing Denver. The really interesting part about the brand campaign is we actually had a servicing and sales office in Denver. And that was one of the things that I learned by leveraging employees in a particular market, leveraging them as a way to drive brand awareness and having them be brand advocates. Because they were able to tell us, oh, well, you should think about advertising in this newspaper, or this is a radio show that everyone listens to, or this person is really well known in Denver in the business community. So I would say tapping into that local point of view expertise was something that was really valuable in getting the campaign off the ground. The execution of the campaign was also pretty interesting. One of the components was an outdoor campaign, and we came up with messaging that reflected the positioning of the company, but also from a localized perspective, it spoke to Denver businesses, and we used phrases and language and tone that we felt would resonate with the Denver market. That's why I think it was, for me, memorable, because it was really a cross-functional effort between not only the marketing team and other members of the organization, but also hyper-local. And not only did it, from a results perspective, achieve the lifts in applications and website traffic that we had forecasted for the campaign, but also gives a playbook for future campaigns, which I think is really interesting, particularly for marketers.
taking the time to document the playbook, the steps that you took, the learnings. You may not replicate it 100% the next time, but at least you're not starting from scratch.
This was in my first role where I had done a year of working in SEO, but not in content. I worked at a place where we had done some SEO optimization, and I took my first content writing job. And it just so happened that one of our customers, I'm in Montreal, and one of our customers was the Montreal Canadiens. This is the city's hockey team. Go Habs go, if anyone's from Montreal or Canada. And what we offered at that time, video hardware. If you had multiple screens in a location, you could stream the same image to all of it. Just the fact that my product was being used with a team, with a franchise that has this storied history in professional sport, people that know the team knew the team, and to be a part of that, saying that in the concourse, all of the menu screens were all synchronized perfectly, and doing my first case study where I was going from being a marketing writer who might be asked to work on a particular ad, etc. I got a bug for getting in front of the customer. Since then, in that role, I switched into sort of a PR customer-facing role where I was writing these customer stories pretty regularly, and that is something that I have gone back to time and time again. It's in my toolkit, customer stories, getting in front of people, telling their story. I want that to be the first thing that I can do, is tell more of this, because I think it has so much value. So I remember being able to do that in the town I live in was great. This one stuck with me.
Earlier this year, we released a research report. So we commissioned research from Forrester, and this was an update to a report that we commissioned in 2019. And the unique thing about this report is Forrester usually does total economic impact reporting on what is the average ROI that customers see from your product or service. And then they do more thought leadership type where they're doing something on the industry. But this report was a blend of total economic impact for the industry. So instead of total economic impact for Intelum, it's total economic impact of the field of customer education. And so commissioned this new research, updated research from Forrester, and then got to work on content around that, webinars, blogs, the actual research report, collaborating with the analysts on that, and then with people to support and promote it. So that was the thing I think was really fun. Actually, I remember I was going for a walk one night and just LinkedIn messaging a bunch of people in our industry saying, we've got this new research coming out. I think you'll find it interesting. I'd love to send you a copy. Would you be willing to help us promote this? Probably 10 of the 15 people I reached out to said yes within 24 hours. That was exciting for me because it was like a rising tide lifts all ships. This data was helpful for everybody in our industry, every influencer. And so we wanted to be able to get that content into people's hands, and people were really happy to support and promote that.
We were sort of preparing for a site visit to a solar farm in Holland, and COVID struck. So there was no traveling. We were scratching our heads, and we just wondered if we could actually do some kind of film or video to replace a site visit. So it's a due diligence visit where prospects would go and see the assets and kick the tires and talk to the local management team. We had to figure out an alternative. So we managed to, frankly, replace that site visit with a film. We hired a team, a local team out there, a little bit of external work, and they flew in. We interviewed the people on the ground, the managers of the site. We got a drone up in the air to film the whole solar farm. So it was quite a change for us to try and replace a site's visit with a video. The brief or a good outcome would be for the viewer to feel that they were there, really. And we asked the questions that they would normally ask to the local teams, the construction teams. It worked very well. We were really pleased with the outcome. And actually, since then, now we don't need to do quite as many site visits as we thought we had to do in the past.
What Content Square had was access to the anonymized data of hundreds of thousands of these global well-known brands around the world, which meant that they had so much interesting data, interesting metrics about how people were interacting with websites, what makes a good website, what makes a poor website, what's causing frustration, what's causing people to bounce. And they began building this huge yearly benchmark report. And the benchmark report was just insights about website experience, mobile devices, user experience, taken from all of this anonymized data. I can't remember how many data points there were, but it was millions, if not billions of data points. And I think this one is the most memorable one for me because it was just this campaign that kept on giving.